earlier this year, I kind of told myself I didn't really want to date anymore. I find most dating situations to be like profoundly disappointing. If someone likes you a lot, they're like, oh my god, you're my favorite person ever. I've never liked someone more than I've ever liked you. Then something happens, like they don't like something that I've said to them, and I can immediately feel a shift. Last year when I was in a relationship, he invited me out to a taco place with his friends. There were no vegetarian tacos, it was all meat. And I am a vegetarian, and he was like, oh, don't worry about it. I will make you a grilled cheese when we get back. But then when I got back, he offered me like these peanut butter snack cakes as my dinner. Didn't offer to make me a grilled cheese. He was just like, let's watch Seinfeld. And I was like pretty understandably mad at him, especially because like I was doing him a huge favor at the time. I was like letting his friend stay in my apartment for free. And so like I just got mad at him, and I was like, I feel like you just like don't consider my perspective ever. I'm incredibly stressed out, and like you made me come to your neighborhood and spend the night. You offered to make me a grilled cheese, but then as soon as we get home, you don't actually want to do it. Immediately after that, the entire tenor of the relationship shifted, like permanently. He slowly started cutting out the times that he would hang out. He'd be like, oh, I'm super busy with school, I can only hang out like 3 nights a week, and then he cut it down to 2 nights a week, and then he cut it down to 1 night a week. He used to be like, oh my god, I love the way you think, I love the way your mind works. One time I was sorting everyone I know into Gilmore Girls characters, and he was like, it makes me really uncomfortable when you sort me into archetypes like that. And I was like, okay, well, that's uncomfortable because I love to type people. Typology is like one of my favorite things. He had claimed early on to just like love the way I thought, but you know, increasingly towards the end of the relationship, it really seemed like he hated the way my brain worked, and like hated the things that I liked to talk about and discuss and say, and like the way that I conceptualize the world. And not only that, but anytime we were hanging out, he would be like, let's call my friend, let's call my sister, let's call my parents. In group settings, he would like pretty explicitly ignore me while still claiming to like, I don't know, like me. He also, like his texting switched so dramatically from like texting me so much, full paragraphs, multiple times a day. He was the one really taking the reins of these text conversations. And then after this conversation, post grilled cheese, pretty much radio silence every day. And I like brought it up to him, and he was like, you know, I'm really just like not much of a texter. For the right person, for the right circumstance, he was a texter. He was a texter for me when he still liked me. And eventually he did break up with me, and I saw this coming for so long, and I tried bringing it up, and I tried being like, hey, like maybe we should talk things through. If you're having doubts, I just really need you to be honest with me. And he was like, no, of course not. I'm so busy. And like, he like broke up with me pretty suddenly, pretty abruptly. At that point, I was like kind of relieved because it meant that I didn't have to do the breaking up. I have a hard time like figuring out when to call it for a relationship, so I'll let it ride for a while. But it was a relief because it had started to get really fucking unpleasant. Every time he came over, he would have a complaint for me. He would be like, this apartment that you just cleaned for 2 hours, like it's not clean enough for me to my specific standard. Oh, you don't have like dinner ingredients ready for me. And this is like a really progressive guy, like, you know, he thinks of himself as very progressive. The dates got really uncomfortable because he would always just be thinking about like universal basic income, and then he'd be like, I need to like look this up on my phone real quick. And then he would just like start reading a study in front of me, and I would feel really like invalidated and unimportant and not interesting, and I would be like, oh god, like I probably should have brought like a book or something. So after that, I kind of like swore off of dating. I was like, I don't really know if I want to date. It seems like everyone I've ever dated never lets me make any mistakes. Like they have these weird unspoken expectations. They're unable to tolerate even the slightest hint of anger. If I am ever angry with them, they will ghost me, basically. You know, a lot of the people that I've dated in the past, there's like something that's obviously like not right about them for me. Like I'm unattracted to them, and I'm like, well, maybe I just need to give them a chance. Or like they pretty obviously have nothing in common with me. Pretty much every single person I've ever dated has had something like that, where I'm like, whoa, like I can see where this is gonna fall apart. So I was doing well on the not dating for a while, and then I met someone that I wanted to date. He like embodied a lot of the characteristics that I was looking for, and he like also is really into me and like made it super clear from the very beginning. And I was like, wow, like you really leave no room to the imagination, or like whatever. So I was like, I kind of don't want to break my no dating rule, but I'm going to. Unfortunately, this all happened in London, and we only had like 10 days to date. We ended up immediately getting into like a long distance talking stage after like a week full of dates, a week of hanging out with only each other, which I have a lot of like weirdly intense courtship phases. I never like intend for that, and nor am I like really that comfortable with it. But it just, I feel like my go with the flow mentality and the enthusiasm of an infatuated man just like tends to bring this situation about. But yeah, we talked all the time, every day, same situation. I was getting multiple like long texts. He was professing his like interest in me and how much he liked me, and you know, he was very complimentary. You could tell that he liked me. Then a few things happened and I was mad at him, and I made like a few remarks, which I feel like I shouldn't say what they were because I still am talking to this person, so I feel like it would be a violation to like say at this point. Yeah, he pretty immediately froze me out in the exact same way as the guy I was dating last year, limiting texting to like a little bit in the morning and a little bit at night, and you could tell that he just didn't want to be texting. No thought was put into any of the texts. Any of my inside jokes that we had developed were not well received. He just let them fall flat. Any compliments that I gave would be like accepted with a cool thank you. No compliments were ever doled out to me ever again. Up until this point, he had been very reassuring and been like, I know this is a weird situation, but of course I like you and I like want to continue and see where this is going. I want you to be open with me, like if you ever feel uncomfortable about the situation. All of that kind of stopped. Everything stopped. We used to talk on the phone twice a day. And then we never really have talked on the phone after that. I just get my texts. And at this point, I had booked a trip to visit him. And yeah, and now I'm just in this exact same situation that I was like last year. And I'm just like, why? That's a rhetorical question. There are probably a lot of reasons why this keeps happening. It's just like, I'm always so blindsided when this happens because it's always the guys who you do not expect. They're always the ones who like slam the door the hardest. He was so pretending to be like emotionally available, just like this other guy that I dated last year. With both of them, I've given them every opportunity to say, hey, yeah, I'm not really feeling this anymore. But they say, no, of course I'm still in this. Like, of course I still like you. Okay, then why aren't you acting like it? I'm just being strung along for an eternity. No matter how much I try and put it out of my mind, it's always kind of there in the background. I actually just received a text from him. You can tell that he like doesn't want to talk to me. I don't know at what point it's like I should be the one to take the initiative and be like, hey, let's not talk anymore. Ugh, he's so bad at political discussions. Am I enjoying myself in this situation? Not particularly. He literally never asks me any questions about myself. God, I have to go and hang out with this guy. It sounds terrible. These texts have just intensified my like, what am I supposed to do with this kind of feeling about the situation. He asks me 0 questions about myself. Why is he talking to me? Ultimately, like, I can't remember what I was gonna say. Anyway, this was supposed to be about something else.